Hello and welcome to the show. I am at the top of Mount Chiliad for a special downhill chaos. 3 new vehicles were introduced into GTA 5 with the Last Man Standing DLC, I think it's called. And we start with I think this is one of the best looking cars I've seen in GTA 5 in all honesty. Especially with the black and orange. I think it's a great looking car. I'm not quite sure how the name is pronounced. My brain calls it a Fury, so that's what I'm going to call it, Fury GT. It's something along those lines. It may have been a while since I've driven down Chiliad. It slightly crashed it on the first attempt. It may have braked a little bit too late. I forgot about there's a big jump before you take the first corner, that one there. And it's no good slamming on the brakes when you're in mid-air. Doesn't really do very much to slow the car down, and again was just carrying a little bit too much speed. I like the magic fences that managed to carry the car further down the mountain. It does have some decent mountain climbing skills that I was surprised by. I'm not entirely sure what class I think this is in the sports category car. It's a pretty damn fast vehicle, this one, I have to say. Again, another slightly out of practice error there. Just clipped a small, or just clipped it by the rock on the inside by a tiny amount, and that's what it'll do. If you misjudge that little section of track, very easy. I've done that quite a few times with various cars. Back down to the first corner, we're still having a little bit of trouble in stopping it into that corner. Yeah, just left it a tiny bit too late, and then we go for a spectacular roll. We clip a tree, we're losing body panels as we go. There's a door. I think the door has come off at some point. Oh no, the door is still hanging on there. I'm surprised. Bonnet's gone. And then we rest in some trees. This is the impressive mountain climbing. That's from a complete stop, and we're climbing up. That's damn steep. This camera angle doesn't do it justice, just how steep that is. This thing is climbing up. I was amazed. I never thought it would be able to climb up that. That's an incredibly steep piece of terrain in a rear-wheel drive sports car. But it managed to do it. It was blooming good at climbing up the areas. Now, I was going pretty damn quick. I got a hugely fast run into that final sector. Unfortunately, I couldn't land it. I got a little bit of airtime, was trying to take a slightly quicker line, and just couldn't land it. It sort of hit the thing, bounced around, and couldn't quite get it under control, which was a little bit of a shame. Now, one problem I was seeing with this car is some of the common problems actually with the very fast road vehicles. That's that jump right at the very end. It's not fairly common with the faster cars. You hit the landing and you're carrying so much speed, the car slightly lifts up as it goes around a corner, and there's a crest and everything involved, and it's just enough for you to be thrown off course. The other thing this car does, likes to go up onto 2 wheels. It has that much grip, admittedly assisted by some banked pieces of terrain. I was pretty annoyed by that one. Things were going so well, and then just clip a little bit too much on the inside. I think it was the Voltic. The Voltic was a bit like this, and it is called a Voltic. It's been ages since I've played GTA 5. Yeah, it's very, very easy to have the car go up on 2 wheels. Again, helped a little bit by the terrain. It's not quite as bad as the Voltic, but it does do it very, very easily. As you can see, that was all it did. Just that fraction of a second on 2 wheels was enough to cause it to go rolling down a mountain. That's all it takes, and still we go flipping and rolling. Yeah, it's very easy to make a small mistake like that. But that is really the only major criticism that I can have with this car. The fact that it will occasionally end up on 2 wheels in slightly inconvenient places. That's about it, really. This is what I just found this one here amusing, and I could not get it to go back in control into a straight line, and it ends up in a roll. I fought all the way down as it wiggled from side to side, and we didn't quite fall all the way off the mountain, but yeah, that's not how you take that section of track, okay? Don't do that. After a little while, I got a decent run with this car. I really do like this vehicle. I think it's a fantastic looking vehicle. There are no sort of modifications for it. There's no visual modifications for this car, which is a little bit disappointing. I normally when I do these, I'll throw on various visual parts just to see what they look like, but there was no choice. Aside from painting it in your normal performance upgrades you can get in this, there's nothing you can do to really personalise it, which is a bit of a shame, I think. I really like the look of this car. It's a very nice car to drive, and in fact it's pretty damn good off-road. Aside from the two-wheel thing, there we go, that was good timing. There are really no major criticisms. It deals with the bumps remarkably well for a sports car. It's incredibly good over this sort of rough terrain. Yeah, it can get occasionally hairy on the landing of the jumps. I'm also pretty sure I just went over a coyote on two wheels. And I think I saw that right. I didn't notice that before. A hiker get very lucky. Okay, well that coyote is the luckiest coyote in the entirety of of GTA 5. Yeah, landing of the jumps could be a little bit awkward. You've got to occasionally be careful of the very steeply banked sections. But that's general warnings for every single car, near enough. Yeah, for a sports car, this did remarkably well as it is around the final corner and then across the jump and then into some trees. It wasn't the greatest landing from that jump. Yeah, I really like this car. This might be one of my new favourite vehicles on GTA 5. Even if it is quite, I think it's $440,000 in GTA Online, which is quite a lot of money for what it is. I do quite like this car. One of my favourite vehicles added to the game. Now the other vehicles that are added in this DLC are two bikes. I haven't driven bikes down here for an awful long time. The first one is, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this name because I'm not going to get it right. It's more of a sport. I don't know my bikes. I was going to say a sports bike. I don't know quite bikes. It looks modern anyway. Shall we say? It kind of looks a bit like a Hayabusa. I'm thinking I remember that bike well enough. My entire bike knowledge is based on PGR4. Okay, that's literally it. So yeah, bikes tend to be pretty quick down here because they have phenomenal brakes, phenomenal grip, very, very good acceleration. So they tend to be the fastest vehicles down here. Nothing can really get near the bikes when it comes to this course. And I haven't driven a bike down here for a while, so I'll be honest, I was quite scared of of trying this. On the first attempt, things didn't go as spectacularly wrong as I expected. I just didn't have quite enough steering. The same would happen on the second attempt, going around a corner, just trying to carry a bit too much speed and not quite getting away with it. That time bouncing off the roof of a buggy. The third attempt was a clean run down here. This is a really very fast bike down this particular course. I will say it doesn't feel as if it has as much grip as I expected from it, but that could just be because I haven't driven a bike down here in forever, and I keep thinking that they have infinite levels of grip. You do kind of get understeer, go as much as understeer as you can get in a bike, really. You do sort of get it on here. You will have to be a bit careful in some of the corners. I can take a huge amount more speed than you can with a car. The hairpin it doesn't like so much. That really tight hairpin, none of the bikes are really quite like that one. Yeah, you can carry phenomenal speed through these sections that you simply can't in a car. It felt quite understeer at the time driving it. Watching it back now, it's ridiculously quick. But you've got to be careful about not running too wide through these corners. It would be easy to do, but once after those first couple of attempts, once you got the hang and you know that bike's going to be like that, pretty sure I was on one wheel there, it's absolutely flying down this section, and you can get away with carrying that much speed because you can jump on the brakes, it will stop, it will turn, and then around the final corner, and yeah, it was pretty bloody fast down there. I have to say, watching that back, that is so much faster than I remember when I was driving the damn thing. It feels so much faster watching it there. Yeah, it's pretty good. You do have to be a bit careful. It doesn't feel like it has quite as much turning as perhaps the dirt bike, or is it the Akuma? Yeah, I think it was the Akuma that tops the lead. It doesn't feel like it's got quite as much turning as them, but it is still mighty fast. And our third and final vehicle is another motorbike. I believe it's called the Innovation, I think, perhaps. I can't remember the bloody names of these things. It's basically a chopper with some strange wheels on it. Yet I'm not entirely sold on them wheels. And this is a very different sort of bike to the previous one. However, it still has an awful lot of grip. It's still very fast accelerating, has better brakes than any of the cars. I may have tried to push my luck a little bit too much on the opening run and splattered into a rock. Amazingly, survived. Normally when you have a big crash on a bike, that's just guaranteed death, especially at the speeds that thing was going. I mean, that was flying through that first set. If I could have kept that together down that first section at that sort of speed, that would have been on for an incredible time if I'd held it together for the rest of the damn thing. That's the normal thing that happens when you when you smack a bike onto something. I was having a bit of trouble getting this turned into the first corner. Again, taking a little or getting too much airtime, and then of course not being able to slow it down is not a good idea. Again, another rock, another fairly spectacular death. There was a bit of a problem with this bike. I don't know why I had so much problem with this. Just couldn't quite get it together. I think you could get away with a lot more in the sports bike. I think it had better brakes. It certainly seems that way. I could get away with braking in places where you just can't with this. You've got to be a little bit more careful. And the same goes for this bike, with a bit more understeer than I expected. If you like, I was expecting it to have a lot more turning in some of the corners than it actually did from my previous experience with bikes. Again, just ran a little bit too wide there, and we've kind of front flipped over a rock. Not the most spectacular crash. I love how the bike is just going off on its own. The bike wants to complete the course. It's gone over down that. It may well have made it all the way to the lumber mill. It was certainly the opening section that I was having real problems with on this bike, and I'm not entirely sure why. I mean, it's not terrible handling. It's not overly twitchy. I was just having difficulties. That time I managed to get it stopped in time before we ended up falling over. This is one of my favourite fails, if you like, of this. So we get a little bit too much speed and I can't quite get it under control. Get a big air time. Amazingly, we pull off the landing, and then physics decides it wants to put the bike back in the air, and still we land it. I'm pretty sure that shouldn't that shouldn't work. I'm amazed how much we got thrown up by what I presume was a small sort of rock somewhere in there. Yeah, I'm not quite sure on that particular one. Again, struggling on the opening section. I tried my hardest to get back on the course. I think that's the only time I've ever had like a proper smack on the rock like that, and the person actually survived. Normally, you can sometimes get away with a landing and fall off, but to smack a rock at that sort of speed and survive is pretty damn rare. There must have been just a sliver of health left. It took a little bit of time with it. It took a little bit longer than the other vehicles with this bike to get a clean run out of it. I'm not entirely sure what it is. It's just not quite as nice. I think I was slightly spoiled by the sports bike that was very nice, and then going to this, I was expecting it to be similar, and it's not quite as good. It doesn't have quite as good a brakes. It can't carry quite as much corner speed. Again, the hairpin is horrible in this thing. It really doesn't like the hairpin. Of course, it still accelerates very well, and it will still brake better than any of the cars that we've seen. Get things a little bit wrong. I think this may get thrown around by the bumps a bit more. That might explain some of it. Just watching this back now, I think it may do. Again, that was not a particularly good landing, but you can get away with things like that if you just overshoot a landing slightly, because these bikes have got the brakes, they've got the grip, that they can make the turn, or they can stop before there is complete disaster. Go a little bit wrong coming down this side path, a little bit on the hillish area. Still, you know, you can do that with a bike. If that was in a car, you probably wouldn't have pulled it off. And there we go. It is across the line. A little bit trickier to drive this bike, in all honesty. Still very, very fast. As you would expect, lots and lots of acceleration in this particular thing. So there we go. All three vehicles made it down to the bottom of the mountain, all relatively painless. As we come on to the times, we have a new leader. A 1 minute 9.4 from... I'm not going to even bother. I can't pronounce that name. That is a very quick time. That is an incredibly quick time. Goes faster than the Akuma. The Innovation, that's the name of it, goes into 5th, 1:15.0. Still pretty damn quick. Not so surprising, perhaps, on that one. That's kind of a general bike time, if you like. I mean, look at the fastest car, the Entity, 1:18.9, and with none of the other cars can do that sort of speed, where the bikes just can carry the corner speed. They can stop the things and so on. So yeah, quick times from the two bikes. I was quite surprised by that sports bike. It didn't feel as if it was beating the record time until I looked at the footage or looked at that replay again. The car went bloody fast as well. For what it is, a 1:23.6 puts it into 17th, around the time of the Jester and the Turismo. That's a very quick time. Considering I haven't driven down Mount Chiliad for quite a few weeks and months. That's pretty damn fast for that vehicle. Yeah, that's a good time, and I really do like that car. I think it's a great looking car, good car to drive, and as we've proved here, it is pretty damn good when it comes to the off-road bits. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys, so thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.